Good afternoon. There is a saying, any of you ever done public speaking? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few. There's a saying, never talk before lunch, never speak after lunch. If you talk before lunch, everybody's tired, they're hungry. If you talk after lunch, everybody's so full, you can't listen. So I have the quite difficult challenge of waking you guys up. This talk is titled Asterisk in the Cloud, or Tips from the Frontline. And how many of you have tried or are running Asterisk inside a cloud? Well, quite a few. Okay, what clouds? Shout. Oh, by the way, when these are not rhetorical questions. When I ask a question, I'm expecting a response. What clouds? One, Zen, DigitalOcean. What else? Amazon. Who runs on Rackspace? Do we have GoGrid? No GoGrid. Okay, fine. So the actual title is this. Look to the skies, because we are all looking to the skies all the time. Why do we look to the skies? There are various reasons that we want our Asterisk infrastructure to run in there. And this morning, Russell Bryan's presentation, I loved it. Because his catchphrase, his motto says, as our infrastructure, our Asterisk systems will be as good as our cloud infrastructure, and we need to understand how to build Asterisk systems in the cloud. Now, the main thing is, there are very few people that I have met across let's say the last 5 years that we had cloud infrastructures. I have met very few people that actually built cloud-based Asterisk installations that made sense. Most of the people that are doing it are doing a horrid job at it. And we're going to go and explore some of the issues and why people are doing it horridly. Okay? So just a bit about me. There is no background. That's bad. I'm located in Israel. Yes, that means I traveled about 20,000 miles here. I've been developing Asterisk platforms since 2002. I have written 2 books about Asterisk. One which is completely outdated, about Asterisk now. If you find it online, don't buy it. It's worthless. Seriously, I mean it. And the other one is about PHP AGI. I'm the creator of the PHP ARI framework. If you heard about it, it's part of the hackathon yesterday. 2 days ago, it was really funny. And I'm an avid open source dreamer and philosopher, which means that I tend to babble. If I start babbling, just stop me, okay? I need your help. This is an interactive presentation. So the thing is this. What is really cloud computing? Can anybody tell me? What do you see as cloud computing? I do expect responses. You are not an oil painting. What? Yeah. So, somebody else holds the services. Somebody else holds the infrastructure. I'm just using it. Good concept. What else? What? Rent a computer. What else? Yeah. Software sharing. That is interesting. That's more like software as a service. But when you talk about cloud, there is this thing that cloud looks more or less like this. Are you familiar with this joke? I'm going to try and just do... Oh, never mind. It's too bad. You can't see all of it. But cloud, are you familiar with the joke? You take, no pun intended here, but you take like 4 or 5 blind people and you show them an elephant for the first time. What are they going to do? They're going to try and feel the elephant to understand what it is. One says, wow, it's like a big hose. The other one says, wow, it's like a big tree. Come on. It's huge. And this is what cloud computing is. It's this enormous animal that most people in the world don't even get. And they don't get it because they look at it and they only see one portion of it. I'm fairly confident that if I start investigating to each one of you, and I'll say, what portions of, let's say, Amazon Web Services do you use? How many of you are using EC2, CDN, CloudShare, Redshift? We've got one person in the audience who actually knows what Redshift is. That's good. Normally, I get none. So, to each one his own. Cloud computing is a whole mixture of services, tools, technologies. Each one should be leveraged and understood. For example, what is S3 for you? Somebody using S3, Amazon S3? We've got one. Any more? Okay, what is you raise your hand. What is S3 for you? A block storage. What else? That's it. So you use it as, let's say, a virtual hard drive, right? Did you know that you can do a lot more with it? Did you know that S3, for example, on Amazon is an integral part of Hadoop for data analysis? Okay? Did you know that you can tie, for example, on Amazon, S3 into CloudShare, into CloudFront, and then do a CDN off of S3? You familiar with that? That's good if you're running a multi-site installation and you want to distribute your sound files. So take your pick. It's like an a la carte menu of technologies and services that you need to figure out how to use. Now, again, I'm going back to Russell's presentation. I love the fact, the idea, one of the things that I like about cloud computing is that it's all API driven. That means if I develop my platform in such a way that I can move from one cloud to another, I'm no longer worried about tying myself to one, because eventually they're all going to be the same. Rackspace is going to be similar to Amazon, to Cloud Foundry, to whatever. It's going to look exactly the same at the end. So, what do we really want? What do we expect? We're going to somebody like Amazon. We're going to Rackspace. These are huge beasts, right? Anybody ever tried getting like professional services from Amazon? Anybody? Nobody. Everybody is like, we're Amazon experts, right? Any of you, how many are running here? A few of you picked up your hands. You're running Amazon Asterisk service, right? How many of you? Hands up. Okay, we've got about 10 people. How many of you ran into media issues? How many of you ran into signaling issues or masquerading issues? Or the fact that you never know exactly how many NATs are going to bypass on Amazon on your way to the internet? Or running turn servers on Amazon? Just an example. But the primary thing that we all want, and this is why we all go to cloud computing, is we're looking for this. We want performance. We go to cloud computing because we want to start off small, start off cheap. You know, give me a host for like $10 a month. That's what I want. I'll make it grow when I want to. I want to add more servers. I want to scale horizontally. And cloud computing enables us that. All these clouds give us that performance value, that capability of saying, I'm going to replicate. But, and there's a big but, performance is tricky. Why is performance tricky? Could anybody tell me if they had performance issues that they managed to solve inside their cloud infrastructure? Yes! We got one person to the right. What have you done? So you were on a public cloud and you moved to a private one in order to get better control over your bare metal. That's one concept of doing it. What did you use for your cloud infrastructure? Zen. Like Zen server, like the enterprise version or the open source? Okay, so okay, cool. Anybody else? Anybody here use VMware? vCloud? Yeah. Running Asterisk on that can be a pain, right? It works great, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I got like 3 of those for different customers. They're awesome. But you need to really build your system right. So performance is kind of tricky, and you need to work at it. It's a constant battle. Okay, every time you upgrade your cloud infrastructure, moving from ESX 5, 5.1, 5.5, all your storage goes away. Things tend to happen in there. And another thing that is important to us is this. We go to the cloud because we want to be agile. We want the same capabilities that we have in our development process in the cloud. I want to be able to add a server, remove a server, give me that service over there because I want to drop my files and forget about it. I don't want to worry about storage. Just give it to me. I'll pay a few cents a month. I'll be happy. As long as I don't have to worry about it. And here comes a little disappointment. And the disappointment is that cloud provider, specifically public clouds, are not identical. How many of you moved from one cloud to the other? From one public cloud to another one? Nobody. That's interesting. Who uses clouds? Here, raise your hands. Okay. You, in the back. Yeah, good. You got me. Have you tried moving your infrastructure from one cloud provider to another? You haven't tried. Have you thought of it? Why hadn't you done it? Okay. Somebody who's been using cloud a bit more, a couple of years, 3 years maybe. Anybody? Raise your hand. Nobody. Currently, moving from one cloud to another is not that simple. They're very much different. The different services, they look different, they behave differently. Some of them have similarities, but most of them don't. Specifically if they're part of the OpenStack Alliance or not. Okay? So, sorry, my Yoda isn't good. But there is no single answer here. I cannot tell you what cloud to select. You will have to find your own, and that is very much dependent on your application. I've seen applications that work wonderful on, let's say, DigitalOcean, and when moved to Amazon, work like shit. And I've seen the other way around exactly. It is all dependent on what you have. The infrastructure is crucial. And when I say infrastructure, I mean you have to know your application. And when I say by heart, you need to know the inner workings of the application that you'll be running in the cloud down to the bits. Because if you don't, you will end up with something that runs like shit. And when I say shit, it means that the shit will hit the fan 3 times a day, and most of you will have white hair within 3 weeks. You can see some of you already do. So the guys who still have, brown hair will turn white very fast. So considerations I have to take into place. Your application type. Are you doing primary media or primary signaling? These are 2 very different things. Topology hiding. Is it important to you or not? Do you believe that being behind a NAT firewall gives you 1 layer addition of security? Anybody who thinks that adding NAT into the network adds security, please raise your hand. Everybody's afraid. They're saying, oh, if he's asking such a question, if I pull up my hand, I must be really stupid. I got news for you. NAT is not security. It's security by obscurity. It is ridiculous, pointless, and so 1996, which drives me nuts. Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. You know, in Israel, we don't yet have IPv6 in most carriers. Well, we don't. And the carriers are now debating if we really need it or not. And we have these two engineer groups that are kind of going crazy. Network bandwidth limitations. Bear in mind that some cloud providers will cap your usage. That means that if you're running an application that tends to have bursts, make sure that the cloud provider you select can support it. Most cloud providers are not built for sporadic spikes. They don't know how to handle it right. Cost restrictions, flat rate or per day, per hour, per traffic, whatever. Do your calculation. One thing, for example, I hate about Amazon and I love about DigitalOcean is the fact that I know very well how much I'm going to pay. At Amazon, I never know how much, what will be my end bill. Every month, I get something else. $600, $625, $746. They calculate weirdly. But again, sometimes it works. Service policies and restrictions. Cross-region availability. Now, cross-region availability is something that very few of us actually take into consideration. And the main issue is, how many of you are running applications that are cross-region, like around the world? 2 people. What do you do? You. Yes, I'm pointing at you. It's a red dot. No bullet will follow. Oh, cool. What company is that? Oh, cool. Shameless plug. Not by me. And behind him, I saw somebody else pick up his hand. Yeah. A call center platform in the cloud. Nice. Sometimes in the cloud. Okay. Okay, so cross-region stability and availability is highly important. If you want to grow globally, you need to know that the cloud infrastructure you selected can grow with you. And of course, operating system flexibility. How many of you hate the various Zen-type kernels that we get in the cloud? Raise your hands. One person, and he uses Zen. Seriously? Like, they don't mix. Yeah. So, what cloud should I use? What considerations what things do I take into consideration when I choose my cloud? So, first of all, is API type a control API for bringing up hosts or shutting them down or killing them or whatever, or scrubbing the data, is that important for me? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If the answer is no, you can use some shitty would-be cloud provider and they'll just give you hosts and you'll be fine with it. Do you require other services apart from your instances? These are elements that will affect your selection for your provider. How many of you are, from the people who raised their hand and said that they're using clouds, public clouds or private clouds, how many services out of the offering that the cloud provider is giving you are you using? Give me examples. Nobody. Apart from instances, nobody's using anything else. That's kind of scary, guys. What level of security do you need? Do you believe that your cloud provider gives you security? Are they really in charge of it? Most cloud providers believe that the only thing that they need to give you is a host. You bash your head with security. It's your responsibility. Specifically, for example, if you're using Amazon private cloud, if you're building your own private cloud and VPNs, and that could be really complicated. I've seen people do that and mess it up too many times. And these two are very important. In the US, they're not that problematic. But in Europe, the idea of geography and regulation and compliancy can become a big issue. For example, who's here from the UK? Okay, so we got 2 people from the UK. Are you familiar with the recent regulation regarding call recording and where the recording is stored? Familiar with compliant phones? Okay, so for example, in the UK, if a call center is located, let's say, in London, and they're selling something to a customer in Manchester, the recording of that sale has to be kept in Manchester, not London. Now, part of the new regulation states that you cannot record in London and transfer to Manchester. You have to do the recording in Manchester. Okay, that's part of a new regulation that people are now debating. That gives a lot of challenges. How do we traverse the media that way? Can a cloud do it? We don't really know yet. There are a lot of questions in there. Now, does anybody believe that instances available on Amazon, Rackspace, GoGrid, DigitalOcean are all identical? Who thinks they're identical? Raise up your hands. Who thinks they're not identical? Raise your hands. Yay, somebody is, okay, somebody's listening. They are so different, it is unbelievable how different they are. Now, Amazon, on one hand, gives you the ability to say, okay, you can change the kernel to what we supply. You can change your baseline image to what we supply. You can create your own if you've got the power to do so. And it takes a shitload of time. I've done it several times. It's no fun. But if they are not identical, what? Microphone? I couldn't hear a word you just said. Oh, you mean you can't hear me? That means nobody is listening. Okay, any better? Yeah, okay. If the instances are not identical between cloud providers, maybe one provider is good for one thing and another is good for something else. Maybe the answer is not a single cloud provider, maybe it's multiple. What? Can you do a cluster across cloud providers? A cluster across cloud providers. You can federate across providers. A physical cloud, I doubt it, because the infrastructure varied that much. But you can federate between different systems over different clouds. I've done that in the past. It's not easy. Really, it's not easy. But it's a good thing to do, specifically if you want to run, let's say, a social network. Okay? So, Yoda says, "Speaking that roof? Are we actually looking for some golden ticket here? Is there a golden ticket to using cloud providers?" The answer is no, there is none. It's a question of experimentation. Well, what I'm going to show now is my personal experience, what I've been doing in the past 4 years with public clouds. And what I'm going to show right now is some, I'd call them guidelines or minor tips that you can use in order to take your cloud infrastructure, your not in physical infrastructure, but your hosted servers and hosted instances in the cloud, and take them to the next level, to think about other things. So, first of all, cloud instances need swap. Now, here's the thing. Most public cloud providers do not enable swap on your hosts. Why is that? Can anybody give me a reason? I had one. What was that? Money? It always comes down to money. Yeah, of course. At the end. Somebody else. Again, where are you? Stand up. Oh. Now I can see you. Yeah.
If you start using swap, the disk access is horrible in most cloud instances, so your performance degrades dramatically.
That is true. That is very much true. So swap, and here's something that people rarely know, but a Linux installation does require swap. Unless you got a shitload of memory in there. But an instance with like 8 gigs or 16 gigs of RAM is freakingly expensive. I'd rather buy a normal server. After a year, it will be exactly the same cost, right? The only cost that is not associated is the IT cost, but fine. But the thing is, if your cloud provider is using SSD drives, and he is committed to that, you can use swap very easily. Now, one of the things, for example, that I like to use when I do specific testing, let's say I want to prove something is working, I take a small DigitalOcean, $5 a month, add 2 gigs of RAM, add 2 gigs of swap on it. It will give me enough space to do my small proof of concept for the next 2-3 days and then bring it down. Because I don't need that much. For some stuff, that's awesome. If you need a small office PBX, this will work just fine. 20, 30 people will be fine. One core, 512 meg RAM, little swap, you'll be fine. Will work just fine for you. Additional services. As we said, cloud providers vary. Some provide hosting only, some provide supporting services. DNS, storage, EBS, CloudFront, S3, you name it. If they can install it for free using open source, they'll do it. I've got a feeling that Amazon should be paying, in my respect, to every open source project, gazillion dollars every year. That's in my respect, but fine. Some supply application engines, and that is something that I personally really like. And we'll talk in just a couple minutes exactly how to leverage those. So, building a cloud installation or an Asterisk or telecom installation in a public cloud is very much like cooking. You got like different recipes, but it's not like your normal cooking. You know, you go to a cooking class, there's a recipe, go dug, 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 no problem. This more looks like this. I'm gonna hack at it with a chainsaw. And I'm really sorry, Ule is not here, but I had to use the Swedish chef because this is what it feels like. What? I'm feeling really sorry for you right now. I'm sorry. But here's my personal recipe. Okay? So I normally use 3 different services. People are now going, oh man, what the hell? 3 different APIs? Are you crazy? You work for me. That's no fair. Yes, I am crazy. I admit it. If you don't go crazy, I'd like to quote right now Ule, who's not here. Ule said like 2 weeks ago we were in Spain, and he said, "We are here to make mistakes. It is okay to go wild and crazy." And yes, if you don't go crazy and go all berserk about everything that happens, then there is no chance in hell that you'll be able to build your platform right. Stay open. Open your minds to new concepts and new ideas, and don't get locked down to just one. Okay, and for example, I use, for example, Amazon primarily for data warehouse storage. I use it for permanent data, CDNs, bulk storage, and analytics. Simply because right now, what they give has very good value for me. Be it Hadoop clusters, be it Redshift, be it a really scalable NoSQL instance, they do it right. They've got it. They deal with big data every day. That's what they do. Google App Engine, application logic and transient data storage. Now, application logic, Google App Engine. Anybody used Google App Engine? Yeah. Oh, fine. Okay. Okay, we'll wrap it up. I use Google App Engine for application logic, transient data. Transient data is important when you build large systems. If you want to understand exactly what it is for federating systems, catch me after the talk and I'll explain in more detail. DigitalOcean I use specifically for instances right now and DNS services. When they will have more, fine. Tools of the trade. So usually I would run the following on DigitalOcean. That means Asterisk, Chameleon, Redis, MariaDB, HAProxy, and Node.js. These will be what I run over there. PHP, Java, and Python on on Google App Engine. And of course, the services that I like here are Redshift, S3, CloudFront, and EMR. Elastic MapReduce works really nice. If you're not familiar with some of these or all of these and you need more assistance, just tell me. Things that we've built over the past 3-4 years with cloud infrastructures. We've built whole-blown carriers in the cloud. And when I say carriers, I mean 50 million users, 150 million minutes daily. We've done that. We know how to do it. Here's just a small example of an EC2 instance. This is a study that we've done about 2 years ago. In this case, it's an M1 extra large instance. You can do up to 180 concurrent calls of media. That means 360 channels, no problem. Easy as pie. By the way, the same instance can actually hold up to about 720 channels, just as a rough example. You want to see more? As I said, talk to me after the show. You can contact me through any of these contact methods, or just grab me outside. Questions? Anybody? This is the time to bash me.
You know, one of the big things with the cloud is the RTP traffic, right? I mean, all of your QoS or the quality of the calls is basically related between the endpoint and, you know, the PBXs that you're running in the cloud. How do you deal with that, especially, you know, if you're in Europe and, you know, the cloud's in North America and so forth?
Well, first of all, what you need is to federate. If you're giving first of all, you need this. Whoops, Scott, careful. Whoops. It landed somewhere around there. First of all, if you are running a multi-country global service and you do need that RTP capability, you need to federate your services. Now, federating your services means that there is no one location of where your user is or will be, and you have no control of where he is ever. That means he actually moves inside your system from one region to another, or within the same country to different regions. Let's say in the US, that requires external data logic to do that. If you would like, I can show you how it's done. It's a little tricky, but not all that complicated. By the way, questions will get you a chocolate, and these are very good. Scott can. Okay.
So when you talk about federating stuff, most end users in our scenario, because this is AstriCon, how would an end device really be federated? Would that be resolved by like some sort of DNS federation resolver?
Well, we don't use DNS at all, whatsoever. Normally, because most of the platforms that we built that required federating were mobile, that means that the front end is a mobile device. We have a mobile application that is used as part of the federating process. So there is an external system that will help you to federate it.
So we couldn't use this with like a Digium phone off the bat, right?
Sorry?
We couldn't use this with somebody like roving around with a Digium phone.
Technically, you can.
Oh.
what you need to do is to use a provisioning server, and that provisioning server will be your federating process. The provisioning server can say, okay, go here, go there, and it will communicate to the different servers saying, okay, now create this here, now create that there, and change the registry.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anything else? I got tons of these, guys. It looks like, if you want something special here, try this. It's a good question. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Oh, by the way, we've got a few of these left. These are DigitalOcean vouchers for hosting your servers. So if anybody wants one of these, I have some, and Eric has some. We've been using them during the hackathon. They're a lot of fun. You can. I don't know if I'll be able to answer it.
The hourly instances on a lot of these virtual hosting companies, since I've never used this myself, is that stuff you can get shut down and it's still there for it to be turned back on, or is it
Yes,
get destroyed?
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
There are, for example, on DigitalOcean, it's called shutting down. It has shutdown and terminate. Terminate means kill it. Same applies to Amazon. So, any more? Yeah. Here you go.
I install PBXs for small to medium-sized businesses. It sounds like DigitalOcean is where I would want to spin that kind of instance up. Is that correct? Or what would you recommend?
I would recommend that you test different ones and check which one applies to you best. Some people like DigitalOcean. Some people like Amazon. Some people like Rackspace. There is no one answer. I like all of them. I use according to what I need. For example, I said previously that I use instances on DigitalOcean, but I do have Amazon instances as well. It all depends on what I need to do. So.
But if they're not allowing swap and not allowing the solid-state drive, wouldn't that hinder the performance?
Who, Amazon?
I thought that's what you said.
Amazon allows a certain amount of swap. DigitalOcean will normally provision without swap, but you can add the swap yourself. You're just losing just a bit of your disk space, but it's not that important if what you're doing is a very dedicated task. So, yeah.
With the size of providers, so that's okay. I don't need it. With all these providers, especially where I'm from, New Mexico, which is BFE, for most people don't know. I mean, one city that's the 3/4 of the population for the whole state. What, like an instance that would run a PBX for a 20-person company, what would be the monthly cost for hosting that in the cloud?
On DigitalOcean, $5.
$5 a month?
Yes.
To host it in the cloud?
Mm-hmm. He's now, I'm thinking it's fake on, huh? No.
I find that hard to believe.
It's 512 meg of RAM and 10 gigabytes of hard drive and 10 gigs of, or 1 terabyte of data traffic. More than enough for a PBX, more than enough. If you want to run a call center, that's not the instance that you need. You need like something bigger. But for a small office, more than enough.
And we are out of time. We need to get the next guy on, so
Yep.
everybody please thank Amir.